We are here live, more or less from Las Vegas. With Mark Anthony, I'm Rick Rosen, and this is Good Sports. Good morning, Mark. What's happening, buddy?
All right.
It's a great morning if you're a Patriots fan.
Gee, Rick, what is the topic of sports this week?
You know, Mark, I've been a lifelong Raiders fan, and there's really not many more teams in the same sport that hate each other more so than the Raiders and the Patriots. I mean, the Cowboys and the Redskins and all that, but for the Patriots and the Raiders, this is old AFL stuff. This is Al Davis, and you know what I mean? And they've never liked each other. I'm a big Raiders fan, and I am happy that Tom Brady got his suspension overturned. It was asinine in the first place. It's asinine now. It's asinine that the NFL says they're going to appeal. Here's what the judge said. Judge Richard Berman said he overturned it because there were significant legal deficiencies. Roger Goodell's a frickin' attorney. Why would you do something that has significant legal deficiencies and then appeal? They've got no shot. To win an appeal, you have to say, okay, here's what the guy did wrong. Here's what he read into it. And people have been saying that there's nothing there. And the judge mentioned it is the same suspension that guys get for steroids. And he says there's no comparison. There's no comparability between taking a little bit of being what they said was just because you're aware of somebody else doing wrong does not make you culpable for their actions. And Brady destroyed his phone, and the NFL was wanting him to do all their work for him. There's ways of finding out what was on that phone, what he said. There's cell tower records. There's all that stuff. If they had legal standing, Mark, they could do it. There are workarounds to get what they said they wanted, and Brady destroyed it, and blah blah blah. You know, that every conversation is a two-way conversation. Is it the only phone that has it on there? So yeah. They could have gone to the ball boys or the managers or whomever it was, and to give me your cell phone. You know, as broad-reaching as is. Anyway, the NFL took it right in the keister, and significant legal deficiencies. Judge Richard Berman has said it's not going to fly. So Tom Brady, and he said immediately, give them a chance. He gave the NFL a chance to swallow a little bit of that unearned pride, and they wouldn't do it. And so now Wonder attorney Roger Goodell, who I have no respect for whatsoever, has screwed up again. How this guy maintains his job because the owners pay him. You know, I mean, he controls them, but they to a point. But when they're the guys that have to put their signature on your paycheck, then you know who are the inmates running the asylum or vice versa. So they hire him, and I'm almost positive they could fire him. This is a significant thing in that process.
I actually read an article in Fortune. It was more of an editorial thing, but the guy in Fortune magazine made a very good point. To own a NFL team, you got to be rich, which means you got to be pretty freaking smart. So you got a room full of really smart rich guys, but they keep paying this idiot to run the organization. So you got a bunch of
and he is an idiot,
smart guys getting dumb. You know, it's like why do they keep him there?
You know, when you think about it, Mark, look at his disposal to get this done. Whether it's, you know, I think that it was a problem that the rule was on the books, and in that organization went outside the rules and did something, and they got caught. It happens in NASCAR every freaking race. Somebody does something, not everybody gets caught. But, you know, they hired Gary Nelson away. NASCAR did, because he was so good at cheating. They said, we have no way. It was the Frank Abagnale thing. We have no way of catching you, so we're going to hire you. Right. And if you can't beat them, join them. And that's what they did. And so now Gary Nelson is director of tech for NASCAR, and it has cut the cheating significantly because they fought fire with fire. It takes a thief to catch a thief. All those little sayings, all those cliches are germane. And when you think, okay, Roger Goodell, what the hell were you thinking? You know, it is a rule, and they did circumvent the rule or do whatever the hell they did. Penalty that I mean should be a punishment fitting the crime kind of stuff. Take a little bit of air out of the ball, or take steroids. You know, take something that enhances your performance. You know, so 4-game suspension. Consider that he gave Ray Rice a 2 for knocking the crap out of his fiance in an elevator and said, "Oh, we didn't see it all. We did." You know, get your head out of your ass and see it all. If you're going to make a multi-million-dollar contract and with a billion-plus industry, you better be making correct decisions. You better have all your I's dotted, T's crossed, the commas in the right places in the sentences. Those things are all important. And what in the hell an attorney is doing screwing that up, I don't know. But if I was an NFL owner, I'm telling you what, I'd be relentless. Every single time I got to talk to somebody, I'd be saying, what do I have to sign to get this guy gone? Because there's got to be somebody that they know, somebody that's already in football somewhere that can do a better job. And I think there's a whole phone book full of a better job of Roger Goodell. And I hope this is one of the nails, if not the nail in his coffin that gets him gone. He's no Pete Rozelle. He looks like a frickin' baseball commissioner in some of the crap that he does. And so I have no respect for him whatsoever. To think that same brain that came up with 2 games for punching your girlfriend and knocking her completely out. It's not like she slapped him and he slapped her back. Okay, not cool, but okay. You know, I think most people are all right. She hit him first, so hey, don't get in a fist fight with me if you're not real good at fist fighting. And I think people understand that. You hit me, I hit you back. Okay, it was a fight. But this guy just door pops his babe, knocks her out, drags her out of the elevator. Oh, we didn't see it. We didn't see all that. Well, why not? It was the same company it was the same people that gave you the initial footage. They edited it for your consumption, and the real thing we neglected to say that we didn't think that was important. Him dragging her ass out of the elevator while she's unconscious, like she was, some paper that he dropped or something like that. Get here, I got to get this out of here. Where's the garbage? I don't think Goodell has much shelf life left in the NFL, and rightfully so. And I hope this is the end of this era, and they'll go on to something, whatever. I mean, the guy's not been incredibly terrible, but terrible enough that we love the sport. We like football. Quit screwing it up, dude. Keep the guys in line, let them play, and sit back and shut up. I think Roger Goodell should be like a referee. James, if you don't hear him, okay, then things are going good. But I think this guy's ego is getting in the way of an incredible sport that is pro football. So, by the way, speaking of pro football, Mark, and speaking of those type of things, we do most of what happens here, Mark, in Las Vegas that we are allowed to have a part of, including boxing somewhere other than MGM. We see different athletes. We see them not in the arena. Most people only see Tom Brady playing football or when he's making a commercial or something. You know what I mean? We see these guys in the lead up at the press conferences and those kind of things. And you talk to them afterwards and ask them some questions. And so you develop a liking for these cats. One of the worst things, Mark, that I've had to do in my covering sports here is come to the realization that some of these people paid a desperate price to perform, to entertain me, to entertain us. And that desperate price generally comes from mushiness, from incredible, devastating injuries, long-lasting damage to their head, to their brain, to that function, that thing that makes us all work. And Dr. Dean Sicking, the man who brought us the safer barriers, which stands for steel and foam energy reduction, said to you and I, Mark, that he had a concept about trauma to the head for boxers and for MMA fighters I spoke with Dr. Sicking not too long ago, in the last few minutes actually, and I believe, Mark, that this is as sport changing, as landscape changing a development, certainly, that the safer barriers made to NASCAR. I believe Dr. Sicking's going to have the very same effect in what his cushion technology does for the combat sports, whether it's boxing or mixed martial arts, or even the things that are somewhat on the periphery of that. I mean, do you call hockey a combat sport? I don't know. They wear helmets and they hit each other. So, some kind of, and they got stakes and people get hit with all those kind of things, and sharp blades on their skates and everything else. But the one thing that they really just can't overcome, Mark, is the head injuries. And I believe that that this safer technology, this cushion technology that Dr. Sicking has brought to the world, is going to reduce head injuries by a significant amount, by much more than 50%, Mark. And I will ever do much more than facilitate that deal. Put this man in touch with this man, and let's get this going. But there was an article yesterday, and I believe I sent it to you on Yahoo Sports, about the kids coming into MMA. And just as I've said, I've seen kids come into Golden Gloves boxing, and they were 4 and 5 years old. And if we didn't allow them in the ring, they were over, and dad was working with them on a bag or footwork or whatever. And these kids start real early. And that wear and tear on that head, it just goes up exponentially. There is no time off. There is no off season in boxing or MMA. It goes year round. So, guys used to get some time off from football to recover. Now that's almost really not the case, Mark, because they have so many voluntary workouts and this and that and whatever. But I don't think they're really a great deal of head trauma and those kind of things. But in boxing and MMA, you cannot avoid it. It's part of what you have to do to get ready to do it for real. I mean, it's like a preseason game every day in sparring. But I think that's where the damage comes, Mark, to these kids and to these young men and women, for the most part. Ronda Rousey doesn't ever hurt anybody's head. she might twist your arm into something that Rubik couldn't undo, but she doesn't do a lot of damage to heads. But in sparring, I'm sure she gets kicked in the head. I'm sure she takes some blows, and I'm sure and 10 years down the road, when you forget where you put your car keys while they're in your hand, yeah, shit. So they pay a steep price to perform for. We look at Muhammad Ali. Very, very sad about Muhammad Ali's situation. He had the good life. He got something out of it. Some of these guys get nothing out of it but brain damage. And they weren't world champions. And they didn't make anything, but they barely. It's a hobby when you don't make any money from it, and you're pouring everything you have back into it, which is what guys do. They have to buy a robe and trunks and gloves, gear, and pay for gym time and all that stuff. So some guys do it, man, and cornerman and cutman and the whole shoot match. And guys will make $1,000 for a fight. They're in 995 of that, and so they don't have anything to show for this other than the inability to speak when they're in their 30s and 40s, Mark. Dr. Sicking is going the very same impact on the combat sports, Mark, that he did on NASCAR. And I think it's an incredible thing. And I'm so happy we get to be a part of it, man.
Well, it's like we were saying when we met him, is that, if we can keep both the sparring partner and the fighter safe up until the moment of the fight, the fighter goes into the ring in much better condition to basically do what they're supposed to do, entertain us.
Yeah, you bet.
And then also,
you don't have to die to entertain me. I'm good.
No. Also,
it just doesn't look like you're dying. That's how I like movies.
Also, like you just said, a lot of the damage that we're seeing now in the players in their retirement years actually started when they were 6, 7, 8 years old. Yeah. And so with this helmet, if we can catch them at that age, we can enjoy the sport, and they can enjoy the sport much longer because it's, but it's basically a simple technology. But
absolutely, but it's an incredible technology. I mean, safety pins are a simple technology. So are zippers. You know what I mean? Some things are really cool that are simple. And as Dr. Sicking said to us, Mark, he likes that simple. He likes simple and get it done. And we don't need bells and whistles. And I think the headgear for the boxers, and like I say, if you just think of the number of sports that I think are going to be affected by this development, Mark, you look at the pro bull riders. Them are some tough little sons of guns that are up on top of them bulls. But even when that 8-second buzzer sounds and you still got your hand in that rope, and here comes Frank and Shorty and Jesse to save your ass, you still are going to get thrown off that bull. Very few guys just step off, and so then they have that head trauma. And if this will absorb 75 to 80% of the force to your head, man, I think this really is an incredible day, Mark, and an incredible time in sports, and a lot of that has to do with Dean Sicking. And what an incredible thing it was, man, to spend the few hours that we wouldn't you have liked that to have been about a few months with him, rather just a few hours?
It's like I said on Facebook, it was 3 hours of looking at bust outs, but it was the most fascinating 3 hours I've spent all year.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, it's a tremendous thing, Mark. And again, I really think that it's tip of the iceberg. What far, and speaking of boxing, Mark, and they had trauma and those kind of things. They're having a Box Fan Expo on September 12th, the day of the Berto Mayweather fight, which is going to be the fight that Floyd Mayweather ties Rocky Marciano's record, undefeated record. And Floyd says it's his last fight, and Floyd's an oddball. There's precedent for guys not breaking a record, tying it and calling it good enough. Yeah, Floyd doesn't need the money. I don't know if he needs the continuous ego scratch that you get from that, whatever it is. But Floyd says this is his last fight. A lot of guys say that and don't really mean it. I think Floyd has enough cash in the bank that he may very well mean this. He kind of dances to the beat of a different drummer anyway. So if this is Floyd's last fight, I think it's gonna put the spotlight on boxing temporarily, but then you have to say, okay, who's left? And there are no superstars, even though there are some kids that probably deserve that status that we kind of anoint them with more freely than we should as the press. There are some former stars. That's one of the things about boxing. They don't wear helmets. You can see them. They're not in a car going 200 miles an hour. They're right there in the middle of the ring in front of God and everybody, doing one of the most primal things they can do, and that's mano a mano, or womany. Well, whatever. How do you say? Womano, whatever it is, whatever the political correct, and all points in between. I suppose you could have, the Bobby Riggs, Billie Jean King thing. Anyhow, the sport, yeah, the sport of boxing leaves you with guys that are done, that still are connected to the sport. Not all football players go into the broadcast booth, and you kind of lose track of them. And they can walk through Walmart and not have to sign autographs. Nobody recognizes them. Mark Schlereth, who's on ESPN, was a Denver Bronco. He's a big son of a gun. Now I think he lost close to 100 pounds when he got done playing football, and he's just a big guy, another big guy, no matter where you are. But boxers kind of have that. Everybody knows their face. It's like Cheers. Everybody knows your name. Everybody, and so this Box Fan Expo that's coming in on the 12th, my goodness, Mark, did you see the rundown of who's going to be there? I think it's incredible what they're talking about, of who's going to be doing what to whom and how. And you're talking about Boom Boom Mancini's going to be there. Roberto Duran's going to be there. That rundown of who is actually going to be at the Box Fan Expo. Wow. I mean, it is literally mind-boggling to think of. It is a who's who of sport. Some of them are here because it's the Mayweather fight and it's, you know, it's history and this and that. But some of these guys, man, I mean, if you got something better to do on September 12th, it better be a really, really good thing if you're a boxing fan and you don't head out to this Fan Expo. And it's at the convention center, Mark. It's not in a casino. It's at the convention center, and I think it's going to be really, really cool. So we invite all our friends to go, all our listeners, go to the Box Fan Expo and see what's what, and you know, and let me see, Ray Mancini, Jesse Vargas, Mike McCallum, the Body Snatch. You look at who's going to be there, Mark, and just the few press releases that we get, man, it's going to be a heck of a time there at the convention center on September 12th. So are you going to go?
Links will be on the website.
Okay, good deal. And I think that's always a good time.
Come on.
Well, you never know about you. Sometimes you have other business interests that you have to take care of, and
other obligations.
Yes, other obligations. Yeah, those two. That's all right. Those things happen. So I just don't think that there's a reasonable excuse, Mark, if you're a good fan of boxing, that people don't go and do that. So you know, we're going to be there. I'm not certain that we're going to broadcast from there. We're trying to figure out if we can do that, but if not, we're going to get some great interviews and have them on our show. So you know, we'll get phone numbers and have on guests following that too. So it's going to be a big weekend of for boxing fans. I mean, I think it's a much bigger thing than the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight, and I don't think the fight's going to be a whole hell of a lot different than most of Floyd's fights, and it's going to be Floyd not getting hit and hitting somebody and outpointing them. I don't think you're going to see a knockout in this. I don't think Berto has, and he's a two-time world champion, but you know, those have been devalued. Those world championships have been devalued quite a bit since there were only 6 world champions at any one time in the world, to now there's 600. I mean, if you think of all the different weight classifications that they've got and all the organizations that call their champions world champions, they can't all be world champions. You know, the WBA and the WBC and the IBF and the WBO now all have separate champions. There's not many parts of boxing, divisions in boxing, that are unified, that the title, one guy holds the title. Floyd actually gave up some of his because he wasn't going to pay the sanctioning fees and whatever. And, you know, there's no sense in bribing somebody that you don't, that they're already doing what you want them to do. So Floyd's given up some of his championships, but, you know, people used to be able to name every weight classification and all the fighters, all the champions, and what they used to get there. You know, how you get to any point is all kind of predicated on what you do leading up to that. And these guys, I think the old fighters really have a great deal of wisdom to pass on to the youngsters. And you know, if you have a son or daughter that's into the combat sports, I think this would be a great time to go kind of see who's who and what's what, and see some old fan favorites. Man, you know, hands of stone, Roberto Duran's going to be there. If we can get Ray Leonard on there, I want to sell tickets real quick.
All right, what else is happening out there?
Well, Cardale Jones, one of the 3 quarterbacks that helped Ohio State win the national championship last year, left practice and went to the hospital with a headache. Now, I'm thinking I've had headaches before, and I'm certainly given some headaches, but I don't know that I've ever known anybody that had a headache that had to go to an emergency room about it. I mean, considering it's not like the guy was sweeping up the floors. The training staff and the medical care that is there with Ohio State, I don't know, maybe out of an extreme sense of overcaution, the kid went to the hospital. But I think that's probably a deeper story, Mark, than what has been let out right now. So when you're talking about, they had the 3 quarterbacks, Braxton Miller move over to wide receiver coming off his injury. He's not an NFL quarterback. So I think it's a good move on Braxton Miller's part, but I'm telling you what, that's a hell of a safety net to have a guy on your roster who's playing another position, who can play quarterback and has played quarterback and has been part of a national championship, at that position. So, but Cardale Jones, well, I don't think he was carted off or anything like that, Mark, but he was removed from practice, sent to the hospital with a headache. And that's they got more quarterbacks at OSU. They're very deep, and I think they have a real good chance of defending their national championship. But Cardale Jones was a big part of that last year. He was one of the three. You kept saying, okay, who's next? Here's a great quarterback. Here comes Cardale Jones. I mean, you got Braxton Miller, and then here comes Cardale Jones, and then they go to the national championship, and sure enough, they got you thought maybe the equipment manager was probably a pretty good quarterback at that point because they kept bringing these guys out of the woodwork. So, when your third string quarterback is good enough to win you the national championship, you're probably pretty deep.
Yeah,
just off the surface, you're thinking that's a depth thing. By the way, Mark, speaking of depth, and which this has nothing to do, it's not a segue. There is no more Jen Welter in the NFL. Do you know what that means?
No.
Jen Welter was a coach. They've hired her at the start of the season of the Arizona Cardinals, and she was an intern coach. And now that the preseason is over for all intents and purposes, tonight is the final round of games, preseason games, and she's not going to be on the sideline for the Cardinals because her internship has ended. And they a great deal of to-do was made about her being an NFL coach, and they reiterated a couple times, and it didn't go way out of their way to say it. I think they enjoyed the publicity. It's kind of like with Danica. Yeah, she's racing in NASCAR. She's got a smaller chance than I do of winning or at least a slightly better chance than I do of winning any actual race. But she's there, and we're enjoying the PR and all that stuff. And I think the very same thing with Jen Welter. She was an outside linebackers coach in the NFL. She got some great experience. I would imagine that we're going to see, we have, what is it, the Sin City, what are they called? The lingerie football league team here in Vegas. I know you've covered them or uncovered them when you're talking lingerie. We know what Victoria's Secret is. But anyway, I think you're seeing certainly more women playing now than there were 10 years ago or whatever. Jen Welter being on an NFL staff certainly was a significant thing. I mean, one of the great moments in women's history, at least, suffragettes and all that stuff, is when the first NFL women's coach met the first NFL woman referee. And they were in the same game. And, it's kind of like, Mark, you're old enough to remember this. When there was a black quarterback, whether it's Warren Moon or Doug Williams or Marlon Briscoe was the first black quarterback. Not really. I mean, they used to have them in the 20s, and then they rediscovered racism, and so. But in the modern era, Marlon Briscoe with the Nuggets or with the Denver Broncos was the first black quarterback to take a snap from center, and that was in the 60s. That was in our lifetime, Mark. And to think of the strides they've made to include women not only as viewers, as fans, but as part of the deal, I think it's cool. And I applaud them. And the Cardinals did not fire her or anything. Her internship ran out. So I think you'll see Jen Welter be invited back. I don't know if they're going to have her on their regular staff, but certainly that's a step in the right direction.
Yes, it
is. Guys go up that way. And so now that's available for women. I mean, imagine the opportunities that there are there for her to coach a women's team. How much more credibility do you have with your team than saying, I coached NFL players, so you go over and do what I tell you to do because I know it works because it works in the NFL. So I think Jen Welter did a tremendous job. She didn't stick out like a sore thumb. The coaches and the players all responded to her and respected her. I haven't heard any reports of any problem or anybody smacking her on the ass on the way by like she was just one of the fellas. And oops. There is a lot of butt touching in sports. That's really, I mean, if you did that, if we were at Dairy Queen and you did that, the frickin' cops would be here. Hey, good job on that Sunday, dude. You made one hell of a DQ. Congratulations, and smack him right there on the butt. You know, you'd be getting your paperwork
really nicely
on the way out. But for big tough NFL people, hey man, nice play. Let me check out one of them ass cheeks. Hey, if that's right there, oh, it was supposed to be. You know, so. But anyway, I think Jen Welter did a good job, at least from all reports. I didn't see much of her. But by the way, Mark, we do have to take a short break here. You know, we have bills to pay too, so we just want to let people know that you are listening to Good Sports here on GoodSportsMedia.com. And I'm Rick Rosen with Mark Anthony. We'll be back after these brief commercial messages.
You pay your bills? Really?
I'm sure as hell trying, dude. Okay, I just got a letter. Okay, no, we're good. Okay. All right, welcome back. I'm Rick Rosen with Mark Anthony. This is Good Sports, and kind of heading around the far turn and down the stretch. Mark, go ahead. I'm full of answers, amongst other things.
Well, it's just an observation. The last couple weeks, and I was going to say this on the last show. The Williams sisters in tennis. There just seems to be a larger amount of media on them, as if they're about to retire. You know?
Yeah, I think they are, Mark.
Everyone's looking back at their career now and what they meant to tennis. And before I let you do this one, I've noticed the women tennis players are just vicious. Oh my God, are they vicious?
Yeah. Oh, and, you know, it started with the grunting.
More if they
go back to Monica Seles, you know,
oh my God.
And she grunted like a guy. It's what it sounded like. Ugh! Sounded like a guy either taking a really, really good crap after 3 days of constipation, or somebody lifting something really, really heavy. You know what I mean? And that grunt, and then everybody said, "Well, look, she's winning. The grunt must have something to do with it." So, that's what you were hearing at a tennis match. You know, it used to be so pristine.
Well,
imagine that going on at Wimbledon 30 years ago, or 40, or whatever it was. You know,
it was kind of funny because they were. This was on ESPN, I think. They were interviewing some other tennis players that came up during the Williams sisters era, and how they have, you know, they came in, they challenged the sisters, and then they retired, and they turn around and go, "Well, I chose family over the game. I could have won more games had they chosen family."
Yeah. They're still, listen, they can still have family. Those kids will have a much, much nicer nursery now than if they started their family before. You know, Margaret Court played I think she won a tournament at 7 months pregnant, Mark. So that's, you know, that's we're yeah. So it's not unheard of that the women are able to mix family, because I mean guys can too, but they don't have to carry the kid around. Right. So you know it's a tougher thing to do for the women. And the Williams sisters have been good for tennis, Mark. I do not want this to sound racist, and I do not mean it to be any kind of racial thing other than an observation. As our athletic things that are done here, damn near every sport, when they have integrated, it has made for a stronger pool of athletes. When the blacks were excluded from baseball was good, pro baseball was good, but when Jackie Robinson came into the league, it was 2 years and he was the MVP. It was a very, very short time before the dominance of a group that had not been included was very evident, because you have a before and after that you can measure. You can do that with tennis too. Althea Gibson was the first black heroine of tennis, and then it was a hell of a long time. Arthur Ashe on the men's side, and that was a hell of a long time for anybody else came along. Golf had nobody. Golf had Charlie Sampson and a couple of people that probably would have been stars, Mark, didn't get the opportunities, weren't allowed to play it in the Masters and those kind of things. They just got that second-class citizenry shoved right down their throats, and they left them out. Tiger Woods shows up. Now it's a thing where it opened up, and you brought in more athletes, and you get those people coming in. The Williams sisters did that. Venus was better than Serena when they started. Venus was further along maturity-wise. Just that couple of years made a difference. I think Venus was better. But Serena had Venus to learn from. Venus only had Serena to beat up on. Serena Williams had somebody better than her that she used as and leapfrogged Venus now. And now she's going for the Grand Slam and hold all 4 titles. The U.S. Open, the Wimbledon, the French Open, and the Australian Open at one time. She's got 3 of the 4 of them in the bag. The year's not over yet. Last time somebody did it was Steffi Graf, Mrs. Andre Agassi. And as we look at this, Mark, what they have brought to tennis is exceptional tennis. Now, how their story is not one of those. I don't think it's an incredibly feel-good story. Their dad, Richard, I believe, Williams, is a jerk. He's a jerk, but he got done what he said he was going to get done. He did what he, okay, here's what I'm planning on. I'm planning on having 2 kids, teach them how to play tennis, and they're going to make us rich. All right. The guy was right. Jerk or not, he got her done. So
he did it.
Now there's not a whole hell of a lot left for them to do, Mark. It is a grind. There is no time off. And women want to, not women, but people, I think human nature, you want to start families. You want to have that normalcy. Okay. You made enough money, retire. There's other things. Venus is a good looking, very, very athletic, athletically gifted individual. And I think there's some other things that Venus and Serena both may find themselves in not too distant future, whether it's movies, whether it's some other form of entertainment, whether it's retiring to the beach in Tahiti and dropping off the face of the earth. I think there's more for them than that grind that is tennis, and it has become big business, Mark. And they have corporate sponsors and all the crap that they have to do that you see grind on the people who, look at the bull riders. These guys, their relaxation moment is not dealing with the hat manufacturers and the boot manufacturers and the people that sell belt buckles and all that crap. Their time to really relax is when they're sitting on top of an 1,800-pound bull that would like to kill them. Stomp on them, stick a horn through them or something. So that's how they get away. The stock car drivers, they get out of the car and they imagine how much time it must take them to get all their sponsors in. I'd like to thank Chevy and Joe's Donut Shop and the people that make the brake pads and the water company that, and on and on and on. And they have 8 or 10 sponsors. Well,
with NASCAR, since we're there, that's what really surprised me when I started to cover the NASCAR race out here. Victory lap, they bring the car into victory lane, they take the picture, the graffiti's flying, and then they stop, and then they change hats, and then they do it all over again, and then they stop and they change hats. It's like, how many sponsors do you have?
Yeah, too many. Listen, I guarantee you, I've got photos, and I think it was Jimmy Johnson when he went out here at the Speedway 3 or 4 years ago, Mark, and I stayed till the last dog was dead. I was one of like 4 photographers still there when they got done with the hat dance. And the first one, they put the hat on the guys, and they're all woo. They hold up their, by the time they're to the 10th hat, they put the hat on the guys, and they're like, woo. By the time they got to the 20th hat, they're like,
no, but it is funny because by the time they get to that 10th sponsor, they've ran out of graffiti. 99% of the media people have left.
Confetti.
Yeah. And they're
not graffiti.
Well, all right. But yeah, it was just so funny to sit there and watch because there were so many of them, and I mean, even the Vegas girls behind them are just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How many more sponsors do we have to thank?
And you hit the magic word, Mark. My dad used to always say it's easier to find 10 guys with $10 than one guy with 100.
Right.
All right. So sponsorship in NASCAR, that's an enormous amount of money that goes into one car, to field one team. So nobody sponsors everything. Very rarely does that occur. I guess DuPont and whatever the company they are now with Jeff Gordon pays most of the freight. But even he had to take on some additional sponsors. So when these, and Vegas is the place that I think is probably maybe Daytona, but Vegas is the place where everybody comes and they do business, and so a lot of things are done here. But all the sponsors are here. Maybe when they're racing at Iowa, or they're racing at Kentucky, not everybody shows up. The people that may manufacture the water or the lug nuts or whatever, they're not there. When they come to Vegas, they're all here. And imagine how much time every driver, hey, these people put up $100,000 or $250,000 or whatever, and they get a little decal this big on the side of your car that people are supposed to read while you're going by at 190 miles an hour. Okay. So that doesn't happen. But imagine, I pay $250,000 to put my decal on your car. I want some of your damn time. And when they're here, everybody's all here. They either take all the sponsors, and put them in one room and let the guy do a meet and greet with 20 people, which never happens, or they have to go from place to place to place, from tent to kiosk to whatever it is, to meet with these sponsors, Mark. And it is so time consuming. I mean, everything's so orchestrated in NASCAR. They put out the things to us, as you know, where Jeff Gordon's going to be in the media center from 10 to 10:30. That means at 10:31, Jeff Gordon's ass is walking back to his garage to get in the car and go. Everything is timed. Practices from 12:30 till 12:47. They don't mean 12:48. They do that because, okay, there's something that's going to go on at 12:48, and you're going to be in the way if you're still out there doing your thing. So everything is so orchestrated. And when they get all the sponsors there, it takes, it does take family. You mentioned with the tennis players, it does take that family time from these guys. Most of them are young, and they have young kids. Damn near all the drivers have babies now. I mean, it makes it. We get the press releases. This one's pregnant, or that girlfriend, or this wife, or whomever it is. And then when do they have time with the kids? They're traveling 40 weekends out of the year. They're somewhere other than home, or 40 weeks out of the year. And so they don't get a lot of time with their own family, much less with the sponsors and everything. So, when we get a chance to mention, if we can read the little stickers on the side of the cars, I think we owe it to them to mention. Okay, this is what it said. I think let me go back and look on the camera because I couldn't read it when you were going by. Mark? Let me ask you, what's the biggest type of fan support you've seen at the Speedway when we're out here? I mean, I've seen some. Go ahead, I'll tell you mine. But I mean, people, tattoos or flags or whatever. What's the biggest show of fan support you've seen?
Wow, the tattoos, the clothes. Yeah. Oh God, it was a baby carriage, a baby stroller made out to be, I think it was Kyle Busch. Somebody had a baby stroller that looked like Kyle Busch's M&M car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, really?
It was cool. What a great idea. Well, for me, at least the most impressive that I've seen was the woman who had,
you said it was such a deep voice there.
Well, her right breast, I believe she had the number 8 in the font that was on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car when he was driving the Budweiser 8. And it was, I mean, it looked like she just took a chunk of that car and put it right on that nice boob. So on the other boob, she had his autograph, where he'd autographed, and they copied it. I said, "Did you have him autograph your boob?" And he went over the top like that. She said, "No, I had to actually take it from a piece of paper, but it is his autograph." And I said, so I said, "Well, have you shown Dale?" And she grabbed hold of me, dude, and she had a hold of me like she was keeping me from falling off a cliff. She's like, no, but I'd love to. Like, okay, I'll take you over there and we'll do, I don't really think that's going to fly in this wholesome atmosphere that we have here with NASCAR. But yeah, I mean, and I thought about her, and the reason, I mean, yeah, they were nice boobs, but we did our.
I was going to say, I'm sure you thought about them more than just once.
Well, but you know how I mean, being a breast cancer survivor, Mark, boobs just kind of lost some real meaning to me as far as the overall scheme of things. Boobs are hanging out there. But I thought, wow, what happens to her now that he is no longer driving a bright red car that says Budweiser on it and number 8. He's now driving that multicolored 88. Where did she put the other 8? How did she fix that? I guess she thought he was just going to drive the 8 forever. And so she's probably hunting down Teresa Earnhardt, stalking her, waiting for her to make him. Boy, you talk about somebody that has disappeared off the face of the earth in a sport. It's Teresa Earnhardt.
Oh, yes. Real quick.
You can be walking through as noisy as the garage area is, Mark, and you say Teresa Earnhardt and heads turn. They snap around and, where is that bitch? and they're looking like maybe somebody has spotted her, and you can just be having a conversation about her. Universally despised. Not everybody likes Dale. Not everybody likes Dale Earnhardt Jr. Not everybody likes Dale Earnhardt Sr. Not everybody likes every driver, but I think they all are universally. I have never heard anybody say a thing about her, about missing her, about wanting her presence. I've never heard anybody say anything good about her. And you never heard Dale say anything bad about her. He just doesn't mention her. He doesn't give her the time of day. So, yeah, I mean, he really doesn't. Okay, I know we're going to wrap up very shortly, Mark. RG3, Robert Griffin III, the project at quarterback, he and Andrew Luck went 1-2. And Andrew Luck's done a much better job with Indianapolis than RG3 has done with the Redskins, although they've won the same number of Super Bowls up to this point. But Kirk Cousins has been named the starter. Jay Gruden, John Gruden's little brother, is the head coach at Washington and has been very vocal about not being happy with RG3's progress. I said when he was in college, I don't know that game transfers well over to the next level, because running when you're a college quarterback and a 180-pound safety smacks you and knocks you out of bounds is different than running as an NFL quarterback, and a safety that weighs 2 1/4 is going faster than the guy that weighed 180 runs into you with the intent on putting your spleen outside of your body. It makes a difference to you. And Robert Griffin has been nothing but injured, just the way he plays. But his game didn't translate very well, and people saw that in Andrew Luck. His game did. He come out of Stanford. He played for Jim Harbaugh. Comes out of Stanford, and here this guy is Oliver's kid. What a great thing. But RG3 has lost his job to Kirk Cousins, who is journeyman at best as far as NFL quarterbacks go, Mark. He absolutely, positively, without a question, is not a franchise quarterback. And to think that he has knocked off the franchise quarterback off that pedestal, I don't think RG3 is going to play any more games for the Redskins unless he's forced into by an injury to Kirk Cousins. And I think it's more of Jay Gruden has no use for RG3, thinks he's a wasted spot on the roster, because Kirk Cousins is not the guy you replace the number 2 pick in the draft with, unless you're just tired of the number 2 pick. There are other quarterbacks out there with equal or better talent that were available than Kirk Cousins. Not to take anything away from Cousins. Good athlete, good guy, decent quarterback, but decent don't do it. That doesn't cut it in the NFL. And so RG3, I think he's done as a Washington Redskin. I think Daniel Snyder and the hierarchy there that picked him with the number 2 pick. Well, you take a quarterback with your top pick, man. You talk about putting all your eggs in one basket. You got your eggs, you got the chicken, you got the rooster, you got every damn thing from the farm in that same basket. It better work, or you rebuild from the entire ground up. The Broncos ended up with Peyton Manning. You get one, you hang on to him. And so RG3, his time is done in Washington and maybe done in the NFL. I don't know if anybody is going to give him a shot. The Raiders cut Trent Richardson, who was, I think, the third or fifth pick in the NFL draft, and he was a bust. He didn't do much and now the Raiders cut. He didn't even make their 75-man roster. The Raiders cut Trent Richardson, who had what a great career the guy had at Alabama. When he come into the NFL, man, I mean, he was just a killer at Alabama. And I said on our Good Sports page, holes that were open early and often at Alabama were open rarely and never in the NFL. Everybody's bigger and tougher and stronger and faster, and Richardson's game did not translate to that. He never played a game in college, Mark, where his team wasn't the most dominant team and didn't have almost every position covered with talent alone. I think his offensive line, I don't know if, I think every last one of the people that played in front of Trent Richardson in Alabama definitely could have started for any of the other teams that they played against, with very rare exceptions, Mark. And now the guy goes to the NFL and can't make the Oakland Raiders roster. And God, I love the Raiders, but man, what a waste of talent. But it didn't translate to the pro game, and I think him and RG3 are in the very, very same boat. These guys were stars in college. They were in a great system for their skill set in college, and it ain't there. It's not available in the NFL. So anyway, adios to Trent Richardson. He may be going to a Canadian team near you. RG3, he's going to do something, but I don't believe it's going to be play quarterback for the Washington Redskins. It ain't about time for the Redskins to change the damn name.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Red lives don't matter. I mean, how do we stop at just one color? I don't get it. All right, Mark. Tom Brady's suspension was overturned. The NFL going to recapping now. The NFL is going to appeal that. I think they have a really, really uphill, slippery, icy slope if they're ever going to get anything. It'll be a real surprise that this is overturned. And I mean, it's been a lot of crap, but I know the mental toll on all of them is going to be significant, but I think that will overcome it. And like I say, as a Raider fan, I'm happy for the Patriots today. I think it was a victory for football.
Yes, it was.
Anyhow, Mark, see, we're doing the Boxing Expo. We're going to have the gloves out there and maybe get a few more autographs on there. I guess that's about it, Mark. The U.S. Open's going on. Serena going for the Grand Slam. I don't know that, that's not as big a story as it was a few years ago. You drive by tennis courts, you've never seen summer. It makes sense. Okay, it's 110 degrees. Nobody's playing tennis.
Yeah.
The other 9 months out of the year, we have really good tennis weather. You still don't see many people out there on the tennis courts. I mean, they're just a place with lights and a net and skateboarders on there now. That's what I see. So I don't know. Anyhow, I guess that's about it, Mark. As always, I appreciate your efforts, buddy, and I will be talking to you during the week, folks. We couldn't do it without you. We so much appreciate the fact that you listen to us and communicate with us and enjoy our show. And to our friend Luda Fisk, we certainly have enjoyed interviewing him, and I look forward to that being part of the edited version of Good Sports. So, anything else to add, Mark, on the way out?
Nah, it's just going to be another fun week in paradise.
Another day in paradise. You got it. All right. Well, for Mark Anthony and all of us here at Good Sports, I'm Rick Rosen. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week right here on Good Sports on GoodSportsMedia.com. Bye-bye.
Bye.